The restaurant buzzed softly with the gentle hum of conversations, the clinking of silverware, and the low jazz tune drifting through the warm air. But for Maya, every sound felt distant. Her hands trembled as she balanced a tray filled with plates she hadn't eaten from in years. Meals she once dreamed of tasting, but could now only serve. The faint smell of roasted garlic and butter didn't comfort her anymore. It reminded her of the nights she used to cook for her younger brother in their tiny apartment, scraping together leftovers just to make him smile. That brother, the reason she worked double shifts, the reason she kept going, had vanished from her life 3 years ago. No calls, no letters, just gone. And in those years, Maya's hope had withered like a candle flickering in the wind. But tonight everything was about to change. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe, where stories of hope, love, and second chances come alive. The evening crowd had filled the Silver Garden, a high-end restaurant that gleamed with golden chandeliers and marble floors. Maya didn't belong here, not really. Her uniform was pressed neatly, but her shoes had worn soles, and her heart carried the exhaustion of 1,000 restless nights. She smiled politely at every table, yet her eyes carried a sadness she couldn't hide. She was wiping down a counter when the manager's voice cut through the air. "Maya, table 14 VP guest. Make sure everything's perfect." Her gaze shifted toward the corner table by the window. A tall man sat there, dressed in a sharp black suit. His hair was slightly tousled, but his posture spoke of control, someone used to commanding a room without trying. The light from the chandelier reflected against his watch, glinting with quiet power. That was Ethan Cole, the youngest CEO of a massive construction firm. Rumor had it he was a single dad, a man who had built his empire from nothing but grit and grief after losing his wife. Maya had heard the whispers among the staff, how he rarely smiled, how he carried a weight no one could see. She steadied herself and approached. "Good evening, sir. My name is Maya, and I'll be your server tonight." Ethan looked up briefly, his eyes a deep ocean of calm and distance. "Thank you," he said simply, his voice low but gentle. When she handed him the menu, their fingers brushed for a moment. It startled her. His hand was warm, steady. For a brief second their eyes met, and she felt something familiar. Not in his face, but in the way he looked, like someone holding back pain behind politeness. As she took his order and moved away, she caught sight of a drawing in his open planner. A childish sketch of a house and 2 stick figures, one labeled Dad, the other Me. A small note below it read, "Love you, Daddy Alex." Her throat tightened. She could picture the boy waiting at home, maybe looking out the window, waiting for his father. Just like her brother used to wait for her when she'd come home late from work. She served the food quietly, careful and composed. But as Ethan took his first bite, he reached into his coat and pulled out a few papers, a contract maybe. He placed it on the table and reached for his pen. Maya froze. Her heart stumbled. The pen he held wasn't what caught her. It was the signature at the bottom of that paper, visible through the top sheet, the name written there. Her breath caught in her throat. "Sir," she whispered, unable to stop herself. "Where did you get that signature?" Ethan looked up, eyebrows slightly furrowed. "Excuse me." She pointed at the paper, her voice trembling. "That signature, it belongs to my brother." The pen slipped from his hand. Then, the wine glass tipped. It hit the edge of the table, shattering against the marble floor with a sharp, echoing crack. The entire restaurant turned to look, but Ethan didn't care. His eyes widened in disbelief, staring at her as though she'd said something impossible. "Your brother," he repeated. "What's his name?" "Ryan. Ryan Bennett." Ethan's face drained of color. For a moment the powerful CEO wasn't there. Only a man haunted by a ghost. That's not possible," he murmured. "Ryan. He saved my son's life 3 years ago, the night of the storm." Ethan had been driving back from the countryside with his 5-year-old son Alex. The rain had been relentless, blurring everything in front of him. A truck lost control on the slick road. Ethan's car skidded, flipped, and before he knew it, everything went black. When he awoke in the hospital, his first thought was his son. He'd been told that a passerby, a young man named Ryan Bennett, had pulled them both out of the wreckage moments before the car exploded. Ethan survived. His son survived. But Ryan didn't make it. The guilt had eaten Ethan alive. He had searched for Ryan's family, but the address he was given had long been abandoned. He'd spent years trying to honor the man who gave his life for his son, starting a scholarship foundation in Ryan's name, but he'd never found his sister, never found Maya. Now here she was, standing before him, trembling. They sat together after her shift ended, the restaurant now quiet except for the sound of rain tapping the windows. Ethan had told her everything, the accident, the fire, the name on the hospital file. Maya's eyes filled with tears as she listened, hands gripping the edge of the table. She'd waited 3 years, clinging to hope that her brother was still alive somewhere, that maybe he'd come home. But now she knew. Her brother was gone yet, through his sacrifice. A little boy had lived. "I didn't know," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I didn't know he was gone aving someone." Ethan's voice cracked as he replied, "I owe my son's life to him. I owe my life to him. I've built everything I have since that day to make sure his name is never forgotten." He reached into his coat and placed something on the table. Folded letter, worn at the edges. "The hospital found this in his jacket. I've kept it all these years." With trembling fingers, Maya opened it. The handwriting was unmistakable. Her brother's. "Maya, if something ever happens to me, promise me you'll keep smiling. Don't let the world make you hard. You're my reason for believing in good people." Her tears fell freely now, each one echoing years of pain and love. Ethan didn't speak. He just let her cry, understanding that sometimes silence was the kindest thing you could offer. In the days that followed, Ethan made sure Maya's life changed. He offered her a job, not out of pity, but because he saw in her the same resilience her brother had. She refused at first, insisting she wanted to earn her way, not take charity. He respected that. So he gave her an opportunity, managing the scholarship foundation named after Ryan. Slowly, Maya began to rebuild. She worked tirelessly, visiting schools, helping children from struggling families find their chance at education. The same chance her brother never had. And through it all, Ethan and his son became part of her world. Alex adored her, often calling her Aunt Maya. And she became a light in their quiet home. But more than anything, Maya found peace, not in wealth or comfort, but in knowing her brother's sacrifice had created a chain of kindness that would ripple for generations. Before we end this emotional journey, if this story moved your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Every click helps us share more stories that remind the world kindness never dies. One evening, as the sun set over the city skyline, Maya stood by the window of her new